Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator podcast. And as you listen to these episodes, I hope and pray that you are inspired to create an incredible life of your own. Please help us by sharing, subscribing, commenting, and liking the videos so that we can spread more joy to more people. Today, I have the privilege of introducing Nathalie LeFave. Welcome to the podcast, Nathalie.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, so just so people can know you, I'm going to just read your introduction. Nathalie LeFave is a holistic transformation coach, Forrest yoga teacher, and Huna healer dedicated to helping others find healing, balance, true happiness, and fulfillment in their lives by redefining what it means to be a successful parent, partner, and have a thriving career or business. She helps others become the best version of themselves while living a happier and more fulfilling life. That sounds wonderful. We all want to be great parents and live a more fulfilling life. So just so people can know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you started out and how you got to be doing these wonderful things?
Well, Kimberly, I was born in an island. It's a very tiny island in the Indian Ocean called Mauritius. So since I was very little, I always wanted to explore the world and see what's out there. So the only way I could go and study abroad was to pick something that was kind of meaningful to my parents, and I studied business. So I came to Canada and studied business and then started working pretty much right away. Even at university, I started working then and got it to work into corporate. And but as I was really successful in corporate, there was always this kind of void. And there was a point where I was starting to get depressed because there was no satisfaction, there was no fulfillment, even if I did the job really well. So then eventually it happened that I started working out, and that really sparked my interest in using movement, and I really loved it. And then I said, I want to teach it. So essentially, I was working in corporate and doing all the activities at the gym. And it got to one point in corporate where I really was hitting rock bottom, because I would literally finish work, get in the car, and I would be in tears.
Oh.
And that was very, very painful. And my husband today, who I was dating at the time, said, well, if it's not in you, like, why don't you just quit? So it was easier said than done. And that rolled over in my mind for a few years. But at the end, I knew that I would have a nervous breakdown if I stayed there. And then I said, that's it. I'm not going to work there anymore. And they tried to convince me I could work from home a few days a week. But I knew in my heart that that wasn't the place, because I wasn't happy. So essentially, then I started taking the courses for fitness. I became a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and I loved it. And then I decided to start my own, because even at the gym, there's, all the red tape and all of that I didn't like. So then I started working from home, and it was the best thing, because essentially when I decided to become a mom, before that, I couldn't fathom working the way I was working and having a family at the same time. And so this really helped me to, okay, like now I can envision having a family. And so while I got into fitness and I loved it, and also developed an addiction now to exercise, because I didn't understand what was really going on with me. And I used working out as an outlet to numb the pain or to release the pain in the moment. But then no matter how much I would exercise, it wasn't enough. right? Because the pain was inside. And one day I started doing yoga because I was doing long distance running and I was enjoying myself. And I decided to go attend a yoga and dolphin retreat in the Bahamas. And that was very, very healing and magical. And I was introduced to Forrest yoga, which is a type of yoga I'm trained in. And the first class, I knew it really resonated with me. And the teacher, we were on the boat going to see the dolphin, and she said to me, "Oh, tell me a little bit about your story." And I did. And she asked me, "What is it that you're running from? That you're literally running from?" And I knew then that I had a chord in me, that there was a truth wanting to be seen. And that really started that journey of healing, of understanding myself. And so after that retreat, I also, 6 months after, I became pregnant. And I also chose to study that type of yoga. So I was 5.5 months pregnant going for my teacher training. And that really exposed all my fears about becoming a mother, because of, what myself has experienced as a child. There was so much fear there that, I'm not going to be a capable mother, right? And I think a lot of it, we already, as mom, has that doubt in the back, but for me, it was very intense. And so my teacher really helped me to see that, no, I don't have to have that fear in me, that I could trust that I could raise my kids the way I want to raise them. So that led the journey of yoga, and today I have 3 children. And from there, I also discovered energy healing, because about 4 years ago, my dad passed away, and he was on the island where I was growing up. And I'm here in Canada. And when I got the call from my mom, she said, "You need to come. We don't know what's going to happen." So I arrived there on a Wednesday, and he passed on the Friday. And the 2 days I got to spend with him, he suffered from a stroke, so he couldn't even speak. And it was hard. And the only way I could communicate with him was through energy. And that was so beautiful, because my dad and me, I never felt a real connection with him. But through those 2 days, I felt more than I ever felt all my life.
Oh, wow.
And I knew he could feel it too, but he couldn't speak it. So that was so healing and beautiful, because in a way I was so sad that he was leaving, but there was a sense of peace in me that we were departing from each other, but I gained something from those 2 days, and I know he gained something from it. So that set me on to study energy healing, and I studied Huna energy healing, which is from a Hawaiian approach. And then from there, I work with clients, and even if from personal training to teaching yoga through energy healing, I quickly understood that there was a deeper root cause of everyone's issue, be it like somebody come to me, they want to lose weight, or they just broke up from their partner and they're going through rough times, or, like me, they're transitioning in career. The truth of it all lies deep within us. And we need to find out what is it that we need to heal. And when I discovered rapid transformational therapy, which is a type of therapy that I do, I knew that was what I was looking for, and that could quickly bring my client to the realization, to understanding the root cause of their problems and their issues, if they're willing to go there. And so when I found that therapy, I studied that therapy and working with my clients more on a holistic way, working with the body through yoga, working with the mind with rapid transformational therapy, and also with energy healing, and all of that is a, if you want, a great blend into recovering who we are, because I really believe that, you know, there's nothing wrong with people. It's all the programming, the belief system that happened from very early on that covers and that put a veil on who we truly are. And when we hit, you know, some of us maybe in our 20s or 30s, or some people later on, when they hit that point of wanting to go on that journey of healing, essentially it's their soul calling them to recover, to rediscover who they truly are, and to come to healing themselves in a way that empowers them. So that's in a nutshell, if you want, my story from where I started, like at 18, leaving home, to where I am now as a mother of three, and really wanting to help people to mend those broken pieces that can be mended.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, just a wonderful story. And so I did have your husband, Dan, on the podcast earlier. And I'm just curious, how did you all meet, and how did you know that he was the one?
Okay, Kimberly, so we're going to retract a little bit. At university, I did meet my first serious boyfriend then. And again, there was a part of me, my younger self, who really was craving love, right? So growing up, like, I know my parents loved me, but growing up in Asian culture, that love was never expressed on the outside. So I felt, you know, somehow there was a part of me that felt not lovable. So when I went to university, and I was free as well, and so meeting this boyfriend, and he was really into me, and now looking back, those were the signs of what was wrong in the first place. But I felt like he really, really loved me, and he was really into me. But it happened that, you know, I understand now he had his own trauma as well. And it was an abusive relationship. And so when that disintegrated, which I'm grateful it did disintegrate the way it did, because I never, you know, got really, really hurt. And I'm not like minimizing the pain I went through. I did go to women's shelter once while I was at university. But when that fell apart, that's when I turned to exercise. So I was really into working out. So one day I decided I wanted to take up running. So I don't know if in the States they have something called a running room. That's a running store in Canada. So I decided to join the running room, and I was training. I started learn to run and quickly went from 5K to wanting to do a marathon. So that's how addicted I was. And so I was training there, and one day my husband, Dan, came, and he was just curious, asking questions. So I was just sharing, and it was very casual. I remember it was like New Year's Day, and I had a late night. So I came to the store with, you know, my running gear, no makeup, my hair in the bun, right? And then this guy is asking me questions, so I'm answering. And then he's like, and then I was talking about the gym, because that was a very big part of my life then. And so he goes, where is it that you work out? And I said, well, just above the running store. So I offered to take him to just visit the gym, just on a tour to see the gym. And he did. And then just one thing led to another. And that's how we met. So for me at that time, it was very important that I met somebody who was into physical activity,
Mhm.
because that was a huge part of my life, and somebody who can understand that about me. Because in a sense, even if I was addicted, it was giving me relief,
Mhm.
right? And that's what all addiction does. It would give you temporary relief. And I wasn't willing yet to give up that temporary relief. So that's why when I met him, he wanted to run and he was into exercise. So, and I knew that we had that compatibility, and that's how I knew he was the one. And it now, like, almost, we met in 2000. So now it's been 21 years being together.
Well, congratulations. You went past the 20-year mark. So that's
Yes.
amazing in these days and times. Awesome.
It comes with a lot of, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen, I think. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping parents, because I know how that journey is very challenging for all of us. And it's still challenging for me and for Dan, but we make it a priority to work on ourselves instead of blaming and complaining and pointing the fingers about who is not doing this or who is doing this. If you just work on yourself and understand yourself better, then there's a chance for the relationship to blossom and to evolve through the challenges.
Yeah, and some of the notes you sent me before the podcast is parenting our children is about reparenting yourself. What do you mean by that?
It's because, when you have kids, they trigger you a lot.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if you have children, Kimberly.
I do, and they do.
Right? So no matter how old they are, they trigger you. And what I found is they'll trigger the part of you that needs healing. So it's just like I mentioned before, I know in my heart, and I always tell my client that I know for a fact that all parents love their children, and all parents are doing the best that they can in the moment to raise their children. However, just the way society is today, there's not enough support, right? And some of us have experienced trauma in the past that's still not resolved. So now when we are raising our own children, a lot of times, and I experience it, I'm sure you experience it, you may see your child going through something challenging, and that triggers you. Mm-hmm. And the question is, why is that triggering you in the moment? Because we know a trigger, the trigger in the gun is a very small thing. But what's coming out, the ammunition that's coming out of the gun, that's what's painful. Mm-hmm. So if there is something in you that's been suppressed for so long, then when you're triggered, this is what's coming up, be it it's sadness, it's pain, or it's anger. It's something that's already in you. And maybe, your child, in the interaction with your child or circumstance, it's triggering you, but it's never about that present moment experience. It's always taking you to a past experience that has not been resolved. So that's why I mean, like, when you experience that, it's time for you to ask those questions. Okay, what is it that I'm feeling? That sadness, what is that all about? Mm-hmm. Perhaps when I see my child being hurt, be it physically hurt when they fall down, it reminds me, when I was 4 years old, when I fell down and I got hurt, but there was nobody else there to help me. Mm-hmm. Right? And I was so scared. And now when I see my child going through this, it reminds me of my own pain that I experienced that was never resolved then. because I made it mean something about myself. So for example, if that child did not have the support of a parent that's around for whatever reason, then the child may think, oh, look, there's nobody here and I'm hurt. You know, I must not be worthy, right? And so, or I'm different. And that becomes a belief. And if another circumstance happen in life and the child feels the same way again, eventually the mind makes it a belief, because it's the same thoughts that are happening, and over time it becomes a belief. And now when you as an adult, as a parent, see your child experiencing that, boom, you're taken back there. And in that moment, you're triggered and you're feeling whatever that emotion you were feeling back then come up for you. So if you can recognize that, and seeing a child being hurt, it's maybe less of an agitation. But see, if your child is not listening to you, it's more of an agitation. And if you make it, oh, you're not listening to me. Again, if I remember in the past, who was not listening to me when I was talking? And if I was not heard, that made me feel not important, that I'm not respected. And so in the moment when your child is not listening to you, this is what you're remembering. Oh, you're not listening, therefore I'm not important to you. You're not respecting me. And you take it personally like this from your child, and it creates that conflict. So when you find yourself feeling those same emotions coming up when you're triggered, it's a time to be curious about yourself, about what is really going on within yourself. And when you understand what is really going on in the mind, then you can take care of that little person that's feeling a certain way. And that's what I'm saying. You're learning to reparent yourself, to fill the gap, the void, the pain, healing that pain that was there from when you were pretty young and not understanding what was really happening.
Wow, you just blew my mind wide open, because I never thought of, okay, the children are, coloring on the walls. Why are you coloring? Why are you coloring on the walls? I never thought that. I never connected it to my past experience.
Right.
That's just amazing, that connection. Now I'm going to be thinking about that.
I'm currently training right now and studying with Dr. Gabor Mate. And so I'm learning a lot about childhood trauma, and it has immensely helped me in my own way of parenting and understanding what is really going on whenever there's a clash with either of my children. And in the moment, you can be in a heat of the moment and say something, and then you realize, okay, that was painful for my child, and you can see it on their face. And I think, not that we're not going to do that as parents, we're not, that's going to happen. But when it happens, it's important to inquire within ourselves what just came up here. And it's also important that, not that we're not going to hurt our children. We don't do it consciously, we do it unconsciously. But when it happens, it's important that we do some repair work with them, right? And making them understand that it's not about them. Because that's what happened to us when we made it be like we are the cause of everything that was happening. Then that left us very disconnected as a child. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that now as an adult, like as much as we can is to do that repair work, because, our children, they're just wanting to explore. They just want to be loved. They just want to feel safe. Those basic needs, they just want those to be met. And when they're not met, that's when they act out. Mm-hmm. So when they act out, it's not that they want to, I always ask parents, and I always ask myself that question, and I can ask you that, Kimberly. Do you think your child ever get up in the morning and say, I'm going to make mom's life hell today?
No.
Right? But how many times did we feel like that's what's happening? Like, you're
Mhm.
just wanting to make my life more difficult today.
Mhm.
Right? So understanding that they're not doing this on purpose. There's something that they're wanting that they're not getting. And we as parents were doing our best, but our children, they receive love in their own unique ways. Sometimes, we say, good job, you're doing well. But for the child, maybe they hear it, but what they want is a hug in that moment.
Mhm.
And so when they don't get the hug, then we don't understand. But I did say good job, like, well, I did give you the attention, but they need it in another form. And that's where we have to come in and understand, what is it that they really need from me in this moment.
That makes sense. So the other day I had my granddaughter, my daughter, and her friend over, and the granddaughter, who's about 2.5 now, we were all sitting at the table and eating, and she's making all this noise, like random noise, trying to get people's attention,
Right.
basically disrupting, not even allowing us to talk with each other because she's doing these noises. and we said, okay, you need to be quiet for a minute, Juliet, because we're talking right now. And she'd be quiet for like 2 seconds, and then she'd start making these noises again. So finally we said, okay, we're done with this conversation, Juliet, would you like to talk?
Right.
She said yes, she wanted to talk. We said, okay, you have the floor. What would you like to talk about? I want to talk about my baby dolls. Okay. So we
Right.
listened while she was talking about her baby dolls, because she had a need to be a part of the conversation. She
Right.
wasn't feeling a part of the conversation, so she was being disruptive so she
Yes.
could get into the conversation.
Yeah, she wanted to belong
Uh-huh.
to the group, right? And yeah, and it's great that you gave her that opportunity to speak about her doll. And then how was things after when
Oh,
she's
then she was happy because she's talking, but then she kind of wants the floor. She doesn't want to give it to anyone else either.
right. But that's beautiful. Yeah, and often that's what's really going on. But as parents, sometimes we're so busy, and at times we feel like, I don't have time for this. But it's important to, when we don't have time, to actually explain that it's not about you. I do want to hear this, but can we do this at a later time? Because right now, mommy has this and this and this that has to be done.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. So I'm kind of curious about the Forrest yoga, because I've done hot yoga and some other kinds of yoga, and it's a wonderful thing to do for yourself, for your body, for your mind, for your spirit, everything. I love yoga, but I do not know what Forrest yoga is. So what's the difference between that and other yoga?
So Forrest Yoga, my teacher, Forrest, it's her last name. Her name is Anna Forrest. And she developed that type of yoga after 25 to 30 years of practicing yoga. And my teacher herself, she comes from a background of physical, emotional abuse and sexual abuse and all of that. And so and she was addicted to alcohol and cigarettes from a very young age. And through through yoga, she healed herself. And so this type of yoga, if you've done, like, say, vinyasa yoga, it's movement after movement, it goes pretty fast. This type of yoga, it's not yin yoga where you're holding poses for very, very long time, but you're holding poses for 5 to 10 breaths, just enough for you to take a moment and experience what is really going on in the body right now. What am I feeling? And then when you've practiced that enough, you can check with yourself where you're feeling those sensations in your body, perhaps those sensations of tension, of constrictions, of tightness. Can you go deeper, and is there an emotion attached to it? Because as humans, that's what makes us humans. We have an array of emotions. And most of those emotions is what we call negative emotions. Mm-hmm. But there's what we call negative emotions, which are not really negative, but we perceive it as such, is because we can physically sense it, because something is not sitting well, or we have discomfort in the body, or some level of pain going on. And when that is happening, it's the body's way of telling us that something inside of us is not aligned. So when you think about the mind and the heart, if there's a disconnection, what our heart desires something, but our mind is thinking another thing, then it's not sitting well. So then that emotion will come up, right? So for instance, let's say I'm feeling angry, and my shoulders are getting really tight, heavy and tight, and I'm very angry. And if I experience that in a pose and I'm curious, okay, what am I really angry about right now? What is feeling heavy on my shoulder? And perhaps I'm taking on responsibility for another person's happiness, right? Or my husband is not happy, and now suddenly I'm becoming responsible for that. And I need to find a way to make him happy, which is you can't, right? You cannot make somebody else happy. So, but I'm taking that on because I'm not aware of it, right? So then we can journey into, okay, becoming curious about what is it that I'm really angry about. And it's because I'm thinking and I'm believing that I need to take that on. Because if I don't take that on, then I'm not a good person, or I'm not a good wife, or blah, blah, blah. I'm not a good daughter or parent, or whatever it is that's going on in your mind. It's because the belief that we're having, if we ask the question, is that true? And are you 100% true? And usually it would be a no, right? And so when we're believing something that's not true, our body will tell us that in the form of the emotion that will come up. And when the emotion come up and we're triggered, my yoga teacher always said, never waste a good trigger, because that's the time to inquire about it. And if we can shift the way we see trigger as a learning opportunity, and not, oh, why is this happening to me again? Why do I have to go for this? Why me? So instead of taking that victim stance, turn it around and become curious. And it may not take that long to realize, okay, there's something that I'm believing right now that's completely not true.
Yeah. So while you're actually in that yoga room and you get into that position and you're feeling that emotion, so if you are in the position and you're feeling that emotion, but then they're moving to the next position, do you just sit there and work on it? Or what do you do with that as it's coming up?
So one big thing in Forrest yoga, we focus a lot on breath. And I truly believe that's what makes yoga so healing, because if there was no breathing, it would be just like your regular workout at the gym, right? You're just doing poses to poses to poses without that sense of really connecting with the body. And so in Forrest yoga, and that's why we stay in the pose long enough. And as a teacher, then you are guiding the student to explore, okay, what is it that's coming up for you physically? And is there an emotion coming up right now? And where do you feel that? And perhaps, is there something that you can connect it with that's going on, right? And every class has an intention. So the intention will be to explore that, you know, whatever we're going to explore today. And also the sequencing, Kimberly, from one pose to another. If you want, say I'm doing a lunge pose that will open the front of your quad and the front of your hip flexors. And that's my purpose, is to keep opening that front of your thighs and up into your chest, into your heart, right? Say if it's in heart opening class, the next pose is also going to delve into keep opening that same area of your body. So even if we've transitioned into another pose, you can still continue to explore, right? Until we get to an apex pose, like a wheel pose or a camel pose. If you want that now, like really, what is coming up for you from your heart? What is it? What is the information that you're getting from your heart?
That sounds just so healing.
It is, and it's a way of you also to have the ability to breathe and to release those emotions. Sometimes we don't need to know what they're related. At times, we can just breathe and let them go as they come up, right? So you can have emotional release with this practice, which often happens.
Yeah, and much gentler than going back and having to remember things you don't want to remember in the first place, right?
Exactly, because I think there's different modalities that work for different people. There's not just one way to heal. And so that's why sometimes yoga and different forms of yoga can help somebody, right? And for somebody else, it may be, therapy, like psychotherapy. For somebody else, it will be hypnosis, and somebody else, it's EMDR, right? Like there's so many variations and so many therapies that can take you to that rediscovering of yourself.
That's true. And I want to talk about the other therapy that you do, not in the gym, but in the office, the rapid transformational therapy.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What is that and how do you use it?
So rapid transformational therapy, again, was developed by another teacher from the UK. Her name is Marisa Pia, and she's very well known, and she's worked with many celebrities. And again, for her as well, it's from 25, 30 years of experience working in therapy that she put this therapy together, which includes highly effective techniques, proven techniques that provide results. And because there's a combination of therapies in that rapid transformational therapy, then it makes it quicker to get to root causes rather than if you would compare it to like talk therapy, for instance. I've done talk therapy, and I can tell you, Kimberly, like I went to talk therapy for 2 years every other week, and then understanding myself at the end of those 2 years, and literally now doing rapid transformational therapy, I could have discovered the root cause of my issues in like 3 sessions, in like 3 months, like, which is way faster than talk therapy. So it's a very quick way to get to that root cause. And the root cause is there, and it's in our subconscious mind. So the part of the mind that stores all your memories from when you were in the womb up till now. And we ask very specific questions about the issue you're experiencing, right? And as a parent, say you want to stop yelling at your kids, right? And you get angry all the time. We can ask your subconscious mind to come up with what is it that you've experienced that makes you so angry today. And you get to explore that, right, as an observer, and you get to reframe, because all our programming happen the first 7 years of life, right? So that's why we say when our child is very young, we say that's the time to teach them another language.
Mhm.
That's the time to teach them piano, music, dance, right? Because the mind is like a sponge. So literally the mind at that time of development is meant to receive information so that the child has an ability to know how to function in society. However, a lot of what the child is learning and seeing happening and making it the meaning that they're making it mean to them is what's not serving us today, 30, 40 years later. So it's like I always say, your smartphone, right? How many times does it ask you to update it, Kimberly?
All the time.
And if you don't update it, what happens?
It updates itself.
Or if it doesn't update itself, what happens?
Oh, it doesn't work well.
So our mind is the same. When I ask people, how many times have you updated the programming from when you were a child? Most of us haven't updated the programming. So we are still functioning from a programming that happened when we were up to 7 years old.
Wow.
And so now as an adult, we want to do all these amazing things. We want to follow our dreams and goals. We want to, live the life that we desire, but we feel like, I'm stuck.
Mhm.
Why is that, right? And it's because all those beliefs that we've acquired, then those beliefs are not going to help us create what we want today, and we need to update these beliefs. And that's what the therapy does as well, is reprogram the mind with new beliefs that will help you heal and help you follow what you desire inside of you. And so there's a recording that I give clients that they can listen to for at least 30 days that reprograms the subconscious. Yeah.
Wow. So all these wonderful things that you do and the way you can help people, I'm sure that there are people who would love to work with you and have some contact with you and have a conversation with you. So if they would like that, how do they get a hold of you? How do they contact you? And also, what things do you have available right now? I see on what you sent me, you have a pain to pleasure program and some other things. So why don't you go over now what services you have and how people can get a hold of you?
Well, first of all, Kimberly, like for parents, if there are parents listening and they want to reparent themselves and they want to become that compassionate parent to themselves and to their children, I think as parents, we all want that. We want the best for our children, and we want to go on that journey, sometimes a little bit less bumpy, right? Like more flowing. So there is a free meditation recording that they can download. And I think I gave you the link to that, and it's free. They can download it. And also for services, I offer like yoga, I offer group yoga, I offer one-on-one yoga. And if you want to do deeper work and you want to more of a overall holistic approach that will address the mind, the subconscious, and getting to those root causes of whatever issues you're experiencing, then that's what the Pain to Pleasure program is. It's a program then that offers you to help you work with the mind. I help you work with your body to become more aware of what you're feeling in your body, and also with energy healing, if that interests you to experience energy healing. So that's what the bigger program is. But if you want to do the other parts individually and want to explore that, I offer that as well.
Wonderful. And then what is your, do you have a website where they can go, or they
Yes,
just,
it's NathalieLeFave.com.
okay,
They can
great.
visit you, and they can also schedule a compassionate call with me. It's a free call, and we can get to meet each other and see if I can be any help for them, and if I resonate with them as well.
All right. So now I'm going to ask a personal question. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
I think for me, it's that deep connection, the knowing that when I have that deep connection, that no matter what life is going to throw at me, I have that within me. It's in me. I don't have to go searching. All I have to do is come back to who I truly am, to my truth. And that with that, I have the ability to transform the challenges and grow from that, because that's what life is all about. The spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle said, life is about challenges, because challenges allows us to grow. Without challenges, we do not grow. Mm-hmm. And we as humans, we always want to evolve. And so growth is in us. We can't say, no, I don't want to grow anymore, right? That's when we get depressed. So that willingness to grow and that need to grow will bring up challenges. And when you're challenged, we have to come back to remind ourselves of who we are, so we do not let the thoughts and the old beliefs that will pop up at times take the best of you. And also, what gives me a lot of joy and fulfillment are my three boys. I'm learning so much just raising them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like they are my teachers. Literally, they are my teachers. Yeah.
Yes, children are definitely the teachers, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing all your wisdom. And I definitely had some aha moments during this. So thank you so much.
Well, it's my pleasure, Kimberly. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share what I wanted to share with the world. And hopefully, some people can use the information to heal themselves, or to be willing to go on that journey and explore.
Beautiful. So I have one last question before we're finished. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
That's a tough one. There's many of them. But what I'm going to say is, our past do not define our future. And actually, our past do not define the present moment. Right? So a lot of us have had challenges in the past, but know that it doesn't have to keep being that way. And because we are the creator, we are creating our life. The source is within us, but we're deciding how we're going to respond to life. And I think you have your choice of responding differently to life. That's my best advice, to know that about yourself. And it doesn't matter who you are.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nathalie.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah.
It was an honor.
Thank you. And my purpose in broadcasting Incredible Life Creator is to inspire you to live a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life. And just to help spread the word and spread the positivity even more, there's some things you can do to help me. One, if you know of anyone or any topic you would like to hear from, let me know. If you are a global influencer, extraordinary entrepreneur, or have a great story and you'd like to be interviewed, please message me so that I can give you an application and we can see where that can go with that. Also, I'm a keynote speaker and an expert guest for shows. So if you know agents or booking agents or people who are looking for people for their shows, please connect us. And finally, something I'm really excited to share. I'm a behavioral optometrist. I've been doing that for over 30 years, and I am now living my passion and purpose because I'm about to launch my passion project global venture called Optic Brain Fit, which is kind of like CrossFit for your brain. And it can be used for enhancement, for maintenance, for rehabilitation of people's physical, mental, emotional bodies. And it can be used in many demographics, from special needs to elite athletes, to children, to elderly, to C-suite executives, to intellectual geniuses. It just works on a gradient. So wherever the person is, we just start there where they can do it, and we just keep going until they can, and they're just always getting better and better at what they're doing. But anyways, I'm very excited about this, and I wanted to let my listeners know this. And if you have any interest at all, please contact me directly. I'd love to talk to you about it. And finally, I'm learning to do this on my channel. I have to ask you to please subscribe, like, comment, share to help me spread the word. We're now on YouTube and on, I think, 10 or 11 different platforms. So we just want to be able to inspire people to live and create their incredible life. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll talk to you again soon.